Hi guys. So I want to talk to you today about a couple of things. One of them is Trank. That is the street name. It is not an opioid. It is on the streets and it's infiltrating the illicit drug trade, and it is a animal sedative called Xylazine. Xylazine. And it is for horses and cattle. So what do people do in all of their infinite wisdom? You know what? Let me inject that. Let me inhale that. Let me inject that because I want to see what it's going to do to me, even though it's not for human use, it's for animal consumption. It makes no sense, but people will inhale, swallow, anything that fits in their mouth. It doesn't matter what it is. So it has infiltrated, like I said, it has infiltrated the illicit drug trade, and it is spreading all across California. It's making its way across the United States, and it's extremely dangerous to the point where it causes wounds that will not heal, and it basically causes necrotic skin. Necrotic skin is dead skin. So it's basically like a flesh-eating bacteria. It destroys those limbs, and in some extreme cases, those limbs have to be amputated. Will people stop doing it regardless of it eating through their limbs? No. 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 And so far as the fentanyl is also infiltrating marijuana, Percocets, ecstasy, and in some cases these pills are made to look just like the legitimate pills that you would get from your pharmacy. Sometimes it looks legit and it's not. Okay? The pills fentanyl used to be, what was the percentage? 20% fentanyl in pills. Now it's up to 70% in fentanyl in pills and marijuana. So if your child is doing marijuana, I don't want you being lackadaisical about it, because unless they get it from a doctor or a legitimate store, there is a possibility that they will pass away because it has fentanyl in it. There's a strong possibility it'll be in there. Okay? There was somebody under one video, and I had to resist ripping into them really hard. Okay? The woman's son died. He was into marijuana. He thought it was the best thing since sliced bread, and it seems harmless because back in the day, people would do marijuana, and it wasn't really a huge big deal like it is now, because now a lot of times it's laced. Now a lot of times, even if it isn't laced, for some people it's a gateway drug, and it causes them to experiment with other drugs. So it's not just taking marijuana. If I think, this is my personal observation, if there's 10 people, 8 people out of the 10 have an addictive personality. They are easily addicted. Easily addicted. They broke their leg or their foot or their back, and they've been on opioids for a short period of time, and then they became hooked. I've been on Percocets, Oxycontin, oxycodone. I've been on those types of drugs. And I don't have, thankfully, thank God, I don't have an addictive personality to where if I take it a couple of times, I'm done. I gotta have it. I'm grateful that I'm not like that. I'm very, very, very grateful. It seems to me when it comes to certain things, people do not have the strength to not get hooked. They don't have the strength. When I researched why people get addicted in the first place, because it doesn't make sense to get addicted, And there are some sources that are considering addiction a mental illness because I don't want to hear the person's high. You don't understand when they're high. You don't understand addiction. I don't want to hear that bullshit. I do understand addiction. But I also understand that you weren't addicted until you started. We'll get back to that guy in a minute. If you know that something is going to be potentially fatal for you, why would you start? Why would you start it? Just like cigarettes, right? It doesn't make any sense to start. But yet people do it every day. And then they do everything they can to break out of it, whereas the best way to break out of it is to not start in the first place. And anyway, back to this individual underneath this particular video. Wrote a long, there's strong possibility her son died of fentanyl poisoning. He was taking marijuana. Again, marijuana is being laced with it also. And the mom believes that he died from fentanyl poisoning because this is happening often. It's a common thread. So this person, who I really don't want to hear you because, you're high every day, so there isn't... When was the last time you weren't high? Then we can have a normal conversation. Because as long as you're under the influence of something and you admit that you do drugs every goddamn day, do not sit here and say it doesn't have anything to do with fentanyl because you don't know what in the freaking hell you're talking about. Lord Jesus, I had to take... And I did rip into this person, and I did say... After, this house of respect, this woman lost her son. Okay? I do drugs every day. I do marijuana to help me sleep, and I do drugs every single day. None of them bother me, and it doesn't have nothing to do with fentanyl, and it doesn't have nothing to do with this, and blah, blah, blah. One of the questions I'd love to ask that person was, when was the last time you had a clear head? When was the last time you weren't under the influence of medication or drugs of any sort? Because I can't have a conversation with you as long as you're high and you're defending the very pills that are taking people's lives. And then you're spreading misinformation saying the person died but doesn't have anything to do with fentanyl. Oh, you work for the medical office, the ME's office? I didn't know you're a coroner. I didn't know that. Even the coroner doesn't know why that person died. They have to send a tox screen report to the laboratory, and then the lab will tell them, yes, it was fentanyl, no, it wasn't, it was this, that, this percentage of this percentage of that, or it was completely clean, so there were no illicit drugs in the person's system, or whatever the case may be. How dare you say it wasn't fentanyl when your dumbass don't even know? People who defend someone who died from drug abuse, they defend the drugs. That alone tells me you've been doing drugs for a real long time and you can't think straight. That's what's wrong with that. You can't think straight. There's nothing about drugs that are good. Nothing. Unless you're taking them. I'm itchy and I don't know why. Unless you're taking them for legitimate reasons, like when I broke my leg and I injured my back and whatever other injuries, surgeries, whatever. But I got those from my doctor who put in a script with my pharmacist. I didn't get them on the street. But even so, my mentality is I do not want to take these pills whatsoever. And as soon as I get relief and feel like I don't need them, then I'm going to stop taking them. So I'm not easily tempted into, wow, I took oxycodone one time, I better get hooked on it. Next thing you know, I'm hooked and I got to take every pill that I see because I can't stop myself. I don't have an addictive personality that way, and I'm grateful. I am super grateful for that. But Again, if you have 10 people, 8 people have no emotional strength, no psychological strength. Once they take a pill, they're done. Now they're addicted. So it makes me start to wonder if, I don't know. It's at the point where doctors were so busy making money with let's talk about legitimate drugs first. Doctors were so busy prescribing their asses off that it never occurred to, well, they knew that the people could be addicted. They know that people do not have the strength to not be addicted. They don't. But they were prescribing their asses off to the point where people were getting more and more and more addicted, right? Because that's how people do. Okay? And the DEA got involved and was basically threatening doctors' licenses. If you keep doing this, you're going to lose your career. And so now they're at the point where if you had a surgery, you know, you could take medicine for about opioids for about a week if we give it to you for a whole week. So people who aren't drug addicted, like myself, and I don't have an addictive personality, I have to pay for all the people that abuse drugs. So that pisses me off, but that's just the way it is now because doctors were going crazy with prescribing medications. And if you had an accident when you were 16 years old and you're now 30 and you're still on opioids from an accident back then, something is seriously wrong. You should not be on pain medicine forever. That's another reason the DEA got involved. So anyway, I went off on this person because it's not fentanyl. You don't know shit of why that person died. And because fentanyl is a very common reason for people who abuse drugs, a very common reason for them to die, there's a high percentage that is exactly what caused him to die. Because he's not getting it from legitimate sources and he's not getting legitimate pills, medicine. Misinformation is deadly too. Let me say that again. Misinformation is deadly too. So, yeah, a lot of us who aren't drug addicted, we're all being penalized for people that abuse drugs left and right. And I think it should be on a patient-to-patient basis. If you know that this patient has a history of drug abuse, then how about you don't order them opioids? That should have been done a long time ago. We're going to give you extra strength Tylenol and ice and heat and physical therapy, and that is all. Because once somebody puts something in their mouth, that's it. It's done. 9 times out of 10. And that is the reason why I feel that stress management needs to be taught in high school. Because, like I said before, escapism is not the answer. You know, and some other idiot, people are spreading lies and misinformation. Another idiot said, well, people don't become addicted due to stress. The hell they don't. Yes, they do. Okay? There was a lady on YouTube who, she became addicted to heroin because her parents went through a divorce. That shouldn't make you a drug addict, but it did. Don't freaking tell me. Damn it. So, the reasons why people do drugs, which is really confusing to me, why do you become an addict in the first place, right? And that's a legit question. Some of it is because of peer pressure, which I've never been, what would be the word? I've never been one to follow the crowd. I don't do that. There's no need for me to do that. So I've never followed the crowd. Stress, causes people to do it. We know that. It's escapism. I can't handle my life. Let me become an alcoholic. Environmental. You know, there was one lady who survived fentanyl poisoning. She's lucky. But her entire family is loaded with drug heads, so she doesn't know anything different. She fell into the trap also. Okay? There's genetic predisposition to it also. So those are the main reasons that I can think of why people become addicted in the first place. Some people became addicted because someone gave them something and promised them the sun, the moon, and the stars, and they took it once and then they were hooked. So that's a form of peer pressure. And it's just spinning out of control. It's just spinning way out of control. And it wouldn't surprise me if certain individuals are in cahoots with the cartel in order for the population to be diminished. Did I go there? Yes, I did. Wouldn't surprise me at all if certain entities were dancing with the devil, the cartels, even paying them money to keep the population under control. And if you think that's far-fetched, come on, let's wake up. Okay? Let's wake up a little bit, all right? Not everybody has your best interest at heart. So, yeah. Just insane. Absolutely insane. My advice to everybody is don't start. I don't care that your best friend told you, this is what I got from my doctor, here you go, try it. I do not give a rat's ass unless you get it from a doctor. Not saying you can't be addicted to that, because you could. Or your pharmacist. I would not just pop everything that fits in my mouth. I wouldn't do that, because that casual doink is causing people to lose their lives. And we're probably going to get to the point where after you have a medical procedure or, surgery, you won't be allowed to have any medication at all, because too many people are getting addicted and they can't control themselves. So it'll get to the point where nobody can have medication. We're almost at that point now. So Trank is being mixed with fentanyl. Not fentanyl. There's nothing in that spelling that is A-L-L. It's not fentanyl, it's fentanyl. Everybody says fentanyl and it drives me insane. People cannot pronounce words. I don't know why they can't, but they can't. Okay? Fentanyl's being laced with, or in combination with, Trank to destroy people. And they're making it very affordable, like a couple dollars a bag, so that everybody can have some. We want to smash down as much of the population as possibly, as possible. Let's do it. It's disgusting. It's insane. It's disgusting. It's so far out of control that there's actual medical vans that drive around and treat people on the streets, treat their wounds so that they hopefully will not lose their arm or not lose their leg because of the flesh-eating wounds that have been introduced by that medication, that illicit drug, Trank. Xylazine. It is supposed to be used under veterinary care only. So how it managed to leak out, I have no idea, but it did. And there's labs in China, and there's labs in, I forget what other countries. And they're being smuggled into the United States like wildfire. And I'm going to tell you what's interesting about that. We're going to go there. You know me, I'm going to go there. You're not even allowed to bring a plant over from Puerto Rico, which is part of the United States, I might add. You can't even bring a goddamn plant from Puerto Rico. How in the hell? And when you go to the airport, let's do that too. And when you go to the airport, guess what? They take x-rays of your body. The TSA takes x-rays. They see you butt naked under your clothes. If you think I'm lying, you better do some research. They see everything you got when you go through the scanner. We're so meticulous about that, but we're not meticulous about drugs being smuggled into the country. How do you explain that? How do you explain that? Those of us who are smart can figure it out. People that are naive prefer to think that, oh, they would never do that to us. Okie dokie. Whatever you want to believe, that's you stay in that world, but I'm going to stay in reality. I mean, the TSA is all up your ass when you go to the airport. Okay? If you don't declare something, when you go to another country, if you don't declare what you have, bear with me. If you don't declare it, meaning you don't write down, notate what you have, like small bottles of wine, souvenirs, medicines, whatever. If you don't admit what you have and you're caught, you could go to jail. But yet all these drugs are sweeping through the United States and nobody seems to notice how that's happening. Come on, guys and dolls, let's think. You gotta take your damn shoes off at the airport. We gotta see your no-nos. They see your everything on that scanner. It leaves nothing to the imagination. But yet, drugs can just creep through here in a clandestine fashion, and nobody notices. So, unfortunately, talking doesn't help when you talk to your teens. There was a mom who told her son and daughter both, do not take drugs from people. I don't care who they are. I don't care what they told you about those drugs. I don't care what they said and how safe it is. You have no idea what that pill is, and neither do they. Do not ever do that. They both said they understood. And about a couple weeks later, her son did it anyway, and he died. Fentanyl. Even though a drug head online said, it wrote a 25-page comment saying that fentanyl doesn't have anything to do with it. Do not listen to stupidity on there. I do research and then I tell you what I find. I don't just talk out the left side of my neck. Okay? So you got to start, when you watch videos and you see stupid ass comments, you got to learn to overlook those and do your own research, because you will know that some people have no goddamn clue what they're talking about, but they're trying to be relevant. If you want to know how bad this problem is, I suggest you watch, I'm trying to think what it's called, Texas something documentaries. I will put it in the description. Texas, what is it called? I'm not sure, but I will refer you to that channel, and you can see firsthand all the parents that are losing their kids left and right, left and right, left and right. It's an epidemic, and now Trank is being pulled into the picture. Trank is being combined with fentanyl, so if Trank don't get you out of here, the fentanyl will, and the Trank will destroy your limbs and eat through your skin. People have holes in their skins. They have ulcerated skin going down to the bone, to the tendons and everything, and people love it. They can't wait to sign up for that shit. There's nothing about that makes me want to even experiment. Why would you even experiment? It's insane. It's absolutely insane. And peers are responsible for eliminating other people. Not saying that they knew what was in it, but why are you giving these pills out to other people? I really want parents to homeschool as much as possible. Hire a tutor if you need to, because it's just really a dog-eat-dog world out there, and it does not resemble what we grew up with in any way, shape, or form. That world is in the rearview mirror, and this is the new reality. So we got to be careful and keep things out of your mouth that you don't know what it is. And there's no need for you to be addicted to anything. There's therapy. You don't want to start. It's kind of like, you know, you don't want to jump in front of an oncoming train because you already know that that's a heavy duty train with a lot of machinery, metal. If I get hit by that, I'm not going to survive. And if I do, my body's probably I'm gonna have devastating injuries. If you know that something is horrible, potentially horrible, don't start. To me, that's logical. You can't be addicted if you don't start. I don't care what your best friend told you, what your peers told you, what the dude on the corner told you. I don't give a shit what people tell you. They're not going to have anything to say after you die. They're going to be like, oh well, next. Don't start. And stop enabling drug addicts. Get their asses in therapy. But the best thing to do is not to start. Don't start. Get therapy. I'd rather you be embarrassed because you have to go to therapy than to not go to therapy and self-medicate and then end up dying and your parents have to bury you. You're not considering your parents at all. I'm frustrated. And I don't want to hear about stress. So you have to become a drunk or you have to become a junkie because, hey, I have to. I've got too much stress in my life and I can't deal with it. You gotta be shitting me. I've almost been killed growing up. In my home, by my brother. I was stabbed by him. I didn't run to drugs or alcohol because that's not the answer. I eventually went to therapy, but I had a lot of anger in me for years until I went to therapy. It never occurred to me, let me self-destruct by taking some pills. That's what I should probably do. I should start taking some... we gotta start using our brains. Okay? And I really think, and I'm going to close with this. I'm warm, so what else is new? There needs to be a scared straight program. Just like when the inmates would go off on the teenagers and let them know, if you go to jail, you go to prison, this is what's going to happen to you. Teens need to be brought to the morgue. They need to see all the bodies in there that died of drug overdoses. They need to see the wounds from tranq that the bacteria has eaten through all the way to the bone and now the arm has to be severed. They need to be hit with some shock in order to wake up. Parents talking is nothing to them. In one ear, out the other. In one ear, out the other. There needs to be a scared straight with drugs. The DARE program, how effective is that? I don't know. I don't even hear it talked about anymore. Wow. There are certain entities that do not want your children alive, do not want any of us alive. So the parents have to take charge. And yes, there needs to be a scared straight with drugs. Let them walk through the morgue and let them see all the bodies in there from drug overdose. Let them walk down Skid Row, escorted by cops so they don't get beat up or whatever, or robbed, okay? Go down Skid Row so you can see what that looks like, what your future looks like if you survive being a drug addict. This is what you're looking at. That's what sets into their brain. Not parents talking, scolding, I'm going to take your phone, confiscate your this, that, and this. That they don't care about none of that. They need to be hit with some harsh reality. It's insane. Absolutely insane. Anyway, much love. You guys take care and stay safe. Bye.